So on the Newbie Railroad, things have slowed down this month, but I thought I might start this show off. I've got a number of different things to show you that I have been working on, but things have slowed down because the weather got nice and I've been spending more time outside. But our rain will come back, and I'll get back on the Newbie Railroad again. But one thing I wanted to, since a lot of the people perhaps that are watching this are like me, are newbies to model railroading, I thought I might start with a little intro to track design. When you're designing a track, the important thing to do is to look at your space that you have available and the space that you might be able to expand into someday, and consider what you could do within that space. Now, what people typically start off with is a loop. So you've got like a simple loop that comes with your starter set, and that's oftentimes what people will start with. And there's a couple of different extra flavors. There's sub-flavors of the loop. One thing you can do with a loop, of course, is also you could do a figure eight with some kind of either a bridge or a crossing here. So that, but again, the train would just would be making a loop. You can also on the loop add what people typically will add. You might have a turnout to add to the loop, so you've got some place for the trains to stop. And you could also add a passing siding, a siding here, where a train, you can have two trains on the loop going around, and they can pass each other at that spot. So that's the loop, and different flavors of a loop, and that's the basic thing you can start with. The next thing you can do is what I would call a main line branch line. So in this design, you've got a main line that might be a point-to-point. We'll talk about point-to-point in a minute. And then you've got your flavor of loop, whichever flavor of loop you might want, and then these are connected. So what you're modeling here is you're modeling a main line and some kind of a loop, and they're connected. And you can still do the thing. You could add a little a branch there or a siding there, whatever you want. So that's the main line type situation. Now, depending on the shape of your layout, you might be better off if you've got like an L-shape table in a corner or something. And this is what I would call, this is still a loop, but it's an L loop. So we've got an L-shaped loop here. And so that's for, if you've got the space, you've got more space than you would have for just a single loop, and it happens to be in an L shape, like maybe this is the wall of your house is here, and you've got a table in the corner, then you can maybe do an L. And again, you can do the same types of things that you can do on a loop. You could add a siding, you could add a passing lane there, whatever. Now, in the flavor, if to go a little bit farther than a loop, there's what's called a dog bone. And the dog bone starts off, basically, it is a loop, but you've got a double track, and then you've got a loop on one end, and you've got double track, and you've got a loop on the other end. So again, at all the cases that we've talked about so far, we're not talking about any reversing loops. These are all, the trains are always going in the same direction. They just might be able to pass each other. So you might have, if you have more than one train on the track at a time, or with a figure eight, if you have like an overpass type situation, where the train doesn't reverse here, but they cross. But in a dog bone, then, as you've got, this is if you've got space. This is a double track then on your line, and you can combine the dog bone and the L shape into some kind of a something like this, perhaps, where it's a dog bone, but it's in an L shape. So if you want to do the dog bone, and again, you've got your space set up so that you've got an L-shaped table, you could consider it. So you've got this double line here, so you can have trains going in both directions at the same time. You don't need to add a passing lane here. And at the end, they just turn around on the loop. Okay, so then you start getting a little bit more complicated. And I had talked previously about reversing loops and what you need to do. So this is if you want to go to the trouble of building a reversing loop, you could. The next shape would be basically like a dog bone, except what you've got is a reversing loop at each end. So here, instead of the train just going around and around in a circle the same way like the loop, here they would actually reverse and come back the other direction. There's also what people often do if your space is narrow and you don't have a lot of room for a lot of turnarounds. There's what might be called a point-to-point, and a point-to-point would be just simply, a single track, and the train just goes back and forth on this track. And you could add, say, a reversing loop to one end, and have a point-to-point with a reversing loop on one end, and then on the other end, maybe add a siding, whatever. But here, so basically here the train comes this way, and then you've got a reversing loop, and then goes back the other way, and then would have to back in and go around. So you might have then basically, and you can angle this in any direction you want. You've got a reversing loop to a point-to-point, so a loop-to-point. So these are the basic combinations of things. And basically, you're only limited by your budget, your space, and your imagination, and what it is you're trying to model to try to make it look realistic. But these are the basic shapes that you can build, and then mostly what people have done when they build their layouts is what they're doing is just a combination of these things in some sort of sequence. So in my case, for example, I have basically a loop. The whole track is a loop. I've got a reversing loop inside here, and then I've got some turnouts. I don't really have a passing siding to such yet, but I've got that kind of basic thing. So I've got basically a large loop. I've got sort of like a dog bone, because on this one end down here I do have a double track. But so basically, then I'm just saying is that you can build your track by using a combination of these fairly simple shapes and putting them together in whatever sequence you want. Okay, let's stop that there, and we'll go on to the next topic. Well, there's the bin wagon. I started painting it. I'm going to paint the inside black, and I don't know if you can see it, but the outside is red, and the gate and the drawbar are red, like somebody painted them, and then the wheels. I tried to get the red in the middle and black around the outside, but I'm not a very good painter, so one of them is messed up, but I do have an extra wheel, so anywho. Got a problem with one of my locos. It's a Bachmann Steam train. This one here. It's the one that came with the Echo Valley set, and the diagnosis is that the lights and the sound still work, but the engine doesn't move. And it looks to me like all the pickups are on the tender and not on the loco. And there is a wire. One of these wires is loose. So I popped this plug out, and I got to see if I can figure out how to get that wire back in there, or else I'll need to take this tender apart and buy a new connector or something. I'll have to take a look. I don't know. And I've noticed that what happened is the connection, which has two holes, so you can have a close couple or a more lengthy couple, depending on the size of your curves. And this goes over, there's a little metal post on the tender, and these holes go over that. That's how it, but what happens is, in handling, this gets disconnected, and then the tender is being pulled by the cables, which isn't what should happen. And I wonder if, let's see if this is loose. What if I try to tighten this? Yeah, that makes a little bit of a difference. It has a little bit less slop in it. See if I can tighten it some more. That doesn't want to go any more than that. Still got a little bit of slop in it. So that's a problem. But I'll have to see if I can. Looks like it's the third wire over. I need a little better light. So I've got it taken apart, and the loco is in pretty good shape, apparently. I unplugged the loco has no. I didn't take the loco apart, but apparently it has no pickups. At least I don't think it does, because it's not getting any power. So let's set that aside. So I took the. This is the plug. Let me get something to point with here. So this is the plug here that plugs into the loco, and there's some of the cables would come loose. But when I took it apart, I also noticed that where the cables were inside the tender body, and that was exciting, where the loco or the cables were inside the tender body, and they were bent. Some of the I don't know if you can see that, but some of the cover has been removed off of the insulation. Was taken off where they were crimped. So yeah, there. I don't know if you can see that, but right there. So that's not good. So I have a couple of options that I could do. One option would be I could buy a brand new one of these, which they're going to go for around $200, I think, or about $100 if I get it without the DCC chip, and then remove the DCC from the tender here. I think it's in the tender, and that's one option. Another option is I think there's a part in here that I could get for about $50. I could also try to buy a used one on eBay and part it out, or what I think I might do is I might make this a display loco for my setup, and then just chunk out the tender. But let me see if I can take the 6th piece off here and see what's underneath there. Actually, there's nothing much under here. I just took the motherboard up. There's just a speaker. There's a small little connector there, but they're really. So I don't think I can buy a part. These wires are connected directly to the motherboard, so it's like a custom one-off type design thing. So I think rather than invest in a new model, I think unless the DCC chip is actually in the loco. Now, the one thing I noticed, it doesn't have. I don't see in the diagram here any place where it has the wires that connect between the tender and the loco. So maybe this does not include the DCC. Now it does show where the speaker goes. Here's the weights. This must be that is the DCC chip right there. Okay, so yeah, it is. It's that big motherboard thing Must be the DCC. So it's not really like something that you could unplug and plug in. It's like it's wired directly. So, yeah. Static display loco, I've just decided. That's what it's going to be. I still have another steam loco. Anyway, I have one. I have a Bachmann that I've been running. So I still have one steam loco and one diesel. So I'm going to go with that for now. And I'll put the other one, I'll make a static display area next to the tourist terminal for the other one. Oh, something else I wanted to mention. You know, this tender, when I first got it, it wanted to derail. Now, I've noticed that they have bolted here inside the tender. They've got some weights, essentially, screwed into the body. But you'll see what I did. I actually took and put a piece of lead there just to keep it from disconnecting. So I don't know. It's a nice looking locomotive, but I don't think it's. Hey, people give it good reviews online, but I'm not having the same luck other people have had with it. So I'm using lightweight spackle that I bought at the hardware store, and I'm making some roads. I've started, so I'm using that for the road bed, the spackle, and then I'll be painting it to make it look like old country road, and I'll be putting in some stuff along the ditches there. And then this is the display. I'll be putting some ballast along there. I've been doing some ballasting here to make that look like it's a display model. So it'll be like a road coming in here, and then I'll put like a little parking lot right there. What else was I going to mention before I quit here? Well, anyway, and then I took a little piece of cardboard, and if you can see that, I painted it, put some stripes on it to make it look like, the idea was to make it look kind of like wood. Oh, I just broke it loose. I'll have to re-glue it. I had it glued on there. But that's, then it'll be like a railroad crossing, and eventually maybe I'll put some railroad crossing signs. Let's do some unboxings. This is that little wagon that I previously put together, just for comparison. It's going to go over on the side there, and I've got a couple other items I want to talk about. And I've decided when I describe these, I'm not going to mention the price that I paid. I bought these all from retailers, online retailers. And prices change all the time, and so it's probably better for me just to describe what the product is and what I think of it. And you can use that, if you wish, as input into your purchasing decision, and you can look at the price and decide if it's worth it to you to pay the price they're asking. This first one is from Woodland Scenics, Auto Scenes, HO scale. It's called Henry's Hauling, and they have, one of the things that they have is they have these little scenery, little vignette. Here's a guy, loading some stuff onto a truck. So that was kind of cool. On the back, it says, model making product, not a toy, not suitable for children under 14. Oh, I qualify then. I'm okay. Distributed in Europe by Bachmann Europe. Otherwise, from Woodland, P.O. Box in Linden Creek, Maryland, woodlandscenics.com. Designed in the USA, made in China. Okay. Let's see if we can get this open. And if I have to go get my... Oh, I don't have to get my knife yet. Oh, no, it's going to come right... So it's got like a little display stand there, which I probably won't use. And let's see if we can take him out of here carefully. How do I do this? Okay, so here there's a figure, and looks like a bookshelf, a barrel or two, and a couple of sacks. Okay, let's take a look at the truck. Okay, it's extremely lightweight. So here's in the back of the truck, there's some more barrels and some more sacks. The wheels turn. There's a tiny bit of detail underneath, but not really. It's an old style pickup truck, stake truck. Oh, I see. So this thing that I thought was a bookshelf is actually the gate. So I could probably glue the gate on here. Looks like there's some tabs for it. So he opened up the gate to get the material out of there. Okay. So that is going to go somewhere. I haven't decided where yet, but it'll go on the scenery someplace. So I'm going to set that aside for a moment. And the other thing I have another stake truck, and this one's an older one. It's a 1932 truck. It's from a company called Wheelworks, the division of microengineering, HO scale, white metal kit. So this one I'm going to have to assemble and paint like I did the other thing. It doesn't say too much on the end of the box. It just says same thing. It's got a number here, 96-103. Okay. Box is coated plastic wrapped box. And let me get my knife. Be a lot easier to do this way, you know. Okay. There was a label on the side. It said MEC-96-103, which is what I think I already read. Okay. Plastic's off. Now, looks like the end of the box opens like that. And whatever's in here is probably going to fall out. Or not. There it goes. Okay, is that it? I think that's it. Okay, so there's a piece of paper. Start with that. Assembly instructions. It basically has a little diagram here that shows how the pieces fit together, and it's got kind of a step-by-step 4 points, but basically it's going to be put together. I don't think I'll unwrap it yet. I'll wait until I'm going to put it together. But just to take a look in here, you can see there's the frame of the truck, there's the base. They look like they're white metal, so they're probably pewter. The base of the truck is black. It has a little bit of flex to it, so it's probably some kind of plastic. The end gates for the truck the stakes might be plastic too, so it might not be all metal. It's got some metal in it because there's some heft to it. Okay. It's got a couple of little blocks here too. I don't know what those are. What are the little blocks for? Just out of curiosity here. Oh, what I thought was a block is actually like the radiator. It's actually like the engine cover, the hood of the truck. So the one here's got a little sign. I don't know if the sign is in here, so maybe it's one you have to do yourself. But anyway, okay. So there's a couple of quick unboxings for scale. There's the new truck that was already put together, and the wagon. They're about the same size. Okay, and that's going to be it for this month for the Newbie Railroad. This last picture here, you can see I went ahead and did a little farther. I put in there's some of the spackle for the parking lot, and I extended the road out I'll be messing with that some more. I haven't painted that yet. And so hopefully you'll see you next time. And oh, and you can see my loco that's a static display. So the cheapest Baldwin steam locomotive. I don't recommend that. All right, that's it for this time. See you next time on the Newbie Railroad.